Live. I got the countdown right this time.
Woo! It didn't jump the gun today. That's awesome. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Zocalo. This is your one-stop shop for all things Babylon 5. I'm Shar. That's Norm. Today, we are talking about the often overlooked and I think underrated Lost Tales.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Lost Tales on DVD exclusively, unless you can find other ways of getting it, which we do not encourage, but we know that people are smart enough to get their hands on this, and you should.
We know that's out there, and you know if you have to, do what you gotta do. Mm-hmm. Just don't tell us, and we can't bail you out.
But if you have not seen the Lost Tales and you do not want to get spoiled on it, then please not be in this discussion and then just watch us later when, please pause.
Yeah. And do what I did and go onto Amazon. You can rent it for $4. Watch it to your heart's content, I think for 48 hours, and then it's done. But that's fairly cheap, and it's good quality B5 entertainment.
Now on the Amazon version, does it come with all the extra features and such?
It does not. It just comes with the feature.
Okay. Because on the DVD, there are a lot of great special features, including interviews with Straczynski and Bruce Boxleitner and Tracy Scoggins and a handful of others.
You know what sucks is I have a copy of the DVD. I got it secondhand from just like a used shop, but there's a glitch in the disc. Something's actually physically wrong with it where it won't play the second half or any of the special features. And I am such a junkie for extras, and that just makes me so sad.
Oh, makes me sad too.
But at least I was able to rent it, get myself refreshed, and take notes for today because we have a lot to talk about here.
Now, why is it that when we bring up the Lost Tales, okay, so Earl says mine's in a box somewhere, and I think that Slice of Sci-Fi, hi Terry, yours is in a box somewhere. I think even Daniel's is in a box somewhere. Everyone's is in a box somewhere. What's wrong with you people? It should be on. It should be on the top of your shelf, like it's on the top of my shelf.
Seriously, it would be right on my my media shelf here with all my B5 seasons. That's where my disc is. It's just I don't pull it out anymore to play it because it's defunct.
That sucks.
Yes, and I could have gotten another physical copy of the DVD, but it was going to take a while to get here.
You know,
it was going to take like 10 days, and I thought I don't have time for that.
No, considering that we had to do the show in a week.
Yes.
The math, just there's no quantum space for that kind of delivery service.
Right. Yeah. And if there was, I didn't feel like getting really super nauseous. So let's not.
Okay, good.
Okay. Well, yeah, we have a lot going on. So how about if we just dive right in?
So let's say hi to everybody. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Good idea.
We got lots of people here. Slice of Sci-Fi, BC, Daniel Keller, Earl the Thrill Green, Earl the Thurl. that's
we got a good crowd today. Hi guys.
Terry Lynn.
Thanks for joining us.
For sure. All right.
Yeah, good stuff. So I want to start off with just a little bit of trivia for those of you who have no background. Oh, what am I doing? I'm just wanting to get into this so fast.
I don't blame you. But we do have traditions here. Traditions are everything.
We have traditions.
Yes.
We must uphold. And so here we go. I've got a little bit of Bravare. What are you drinking?
I have Mr. Garibaldi's not so special coffee.
And I have just a little nip of the good stuff tonight.
Okay.
And so to that, and to all of us who have joined in, Valtu.
Delicious. Tastes like fresh Colombians.
Yum. Love coffee. Okay, so how about some trivia?
Let's do it.
Some random facts. Okay. This thing comes in 2 parts. There was going to be a third with Garibaldi that never came to fruition because reasons. So Lockley's segment is titled over here, and Sheridan's segment is titled over there. And it was filmed in Vancouver, British Columbia, released on July 7th. Or wait, no, July 31st? I'm forgetting this now. Shoot. I did not write that part down. Anyway, July 2007. A while ago. We also have a bunch of notes from Terry Jones, who is B5 History Man on Twitter. We're going to incorporate those as we start doing each part, which I think we ought to do. We ought to focus on Lockley, and then for the second half, focus on Sheridan. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. And then, of course, we will get into comments and do some back and forth because that's what this show's all about.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And as always, if you aren't on our Discord server, we can take the conversation there after the show because there's going to be a lot to get through here.
And we can swear a lot more.
We can swear to our heart's content.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So how about we talk about demonic possession coming to Babylon 5?
And this will be from over here. Right.
It's over here.
Over there. Right.
Yes.
Over here. Okay. So what's on your mind about demonic possession on Babylon 5?
Well, I always find it interesting with Joe knowing more of his history that he is an atheist, but he does write about God a lot and has a very solid understanding of that. And this is a very Catholic-based type of thing. We're talking about an exorcism of sorts. Now, something that Terry Jones pointed out to me in his notes that I was not completely clear on was where these demonic aliens came from. So I'll read our first bit of material here, if that's cool.
Cool.
So about 1.5 million years ago, the first ones encountered a group of these incorporeal entities and welcomed them. And over these millennia, the beings started believing that they are wise and as knowledgeable as folks like Lorien that we know and other first ones, and challenged the cosmic order. So as punishment, they were cast out and exiled to the primitive Earth. And they were bound to the world, unable to leave, until over the coming centuries, they were able to escape by going into space. But in the meantime, they were possessing people around the world and causing havoc, which would explain a lot of the weird supernatural things that, people say.
And this is kind of like, I don't think that it's necessarily original to science fiction storytelling, because if you're fans of, say, the Stargate universe, the Stargate universe, it's, the Egyptians are fabled in that universe to have been an actual mythology created from supernatural beings who came through all these different dimensions of space. And that's their look. They looked like what the Egyptians wrote down in their hieroglyphs, Ra, the Eye of Horus, all of things like that. So, and that all of that stuff predates Catholicism and Christianity. So it's logical to assume that in science fiction history, someone like Joe, as intelligent as he is, would tap into this mythology of aliens being in some way responsible for the fear that religions need to tap into in order to purport their religion onto the masses.
Right. Keep people in line.
Purport. That's a good word. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So what do you think about this whole concept that these are aliens possessing people and wreaking havoc as a supernatural force? If somehow we found out this to be true, what would you think about that?
Well, not to kind of like discount what Terry has given us, like in this article that he sent us, because it's great information.
Definitely.
But I personally would rather not know these details in the context of what I watched, because when you start bringing in beware suit tech, now I know you're speaking my language, Pyramids of Mars, you are. So when you have alien entities start creating these manifestations of kind of like these powers of good versus evil, you almost kind of like start lessening the legacies of what we've seen before in Babylon 5 with the Vorlons and the Shadows, right? Because when Kosh actually revealed himself at the end of season 2 and everyone saw an angel, obviously the angelic form is what everyone's religion is going to manifest in what they see. And
right.
What would happen if actually someone saw the shadows in their actual form? Would you see a demon? Would you see the demonic version of your religion? So now they're kind of taking that in a way and borrowing a little bit of that and putting it into this story where alien beings are the devil, and they were cast out from heaven, which is space. I don't know. I know. It's like, I kind of like I like my peanut butter and chocolate separate. It's great when it comes together.
Wait a minute.
What?
Reese's is awesome. What the hell are you talking about?
But Reese's is one of the rarest occasions when that comes together well.
Sorry, I just really had to give you crap about that because Reese's is like, I will never refuse that as a treat.
Or perhaps Twix. I will give Twix that. Yeah.
That's pretty good too. It doesn't hold a candle to Reese's, but every now and then a Twix is really satisfying. Anyway, candy. What we're saying is candy is good. Eat your carbs.
Oh, she's gonna fight you on that one.
That's fine. That's fine.
That's a sidebar for discourse.
It really is. Okay, we'll put that in
or Discord.
Which category would that go into? It's not in the new gaming category, which is the Lost Tales.
I throw that
which
into
we need to get going.
General.
Just general.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I will fight you on that one, Summer. Sorry. I also want to say hi to Mountains of Elysium. Thanks for joining us. Who has joined us? Yes, okay. And before we go, remind me, I'll put a link if you have not joined in the Discord server. These invite links only last a couple of days, so we'll give you a fresh link and you can join in the fun right away.
So the demons on Earth, getting back to this, the demons on Earth, they are aliens. They are first ones aged aliens, right?
Yes. Or referring to a comment Summer made a while back ancient aliens. I don't want to say it's aliens, but it's aliens.
But it's aliens. Right?
Yes. Oh, Summer says that she used to bench press 285. Okay, you could kick my ass.
I mean, she forgot leg day, so get her, sweep the leg.
No, I have not been in a good workout regimen for a while. You would whip me pretty fair and square, pretty fast.
I run well, so I run from a fight.
The only way you'll ever see me running is if my life is in danger, which might be the case here. Fair enough. Okay, so let's get back to it here. I don't know. I'm not as I don't know, disagreeable to the notion where it wouldn't surprise me in the least if a lot of the supernatural things that we've encountered on our world here were brought on by alien races we could not fully explain at the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think that you can make a good case for it because everything that's unexplainable falls into the category of religion or mythology mostly. So it's kind of like, technology. It's like the techno mages, what is magic, but or what is magic or religion, but science unexplained, right? So
exactly.
Yeah. So if there's not a scientific or some type of data to be attributed to whatever you can't explain, then it has to be unexplainable, therefore of some type of alien or ethereal, something like that. X-Files type stuff.
Right. All that fun stuff. Mm-hmm. Also, Unsolved Mysteries. And if you guys have Netflix and haven't watched the new stuff, there's 6 new episodes. Like, they brought it back. Oh, I'm so excited. I love that show. There's even a little acknowledgement of Robert Stack, and that just warms my black little heart. Anyway. All right, back to Lost Tales.
I got nothing for you there.
I'm on so many weird tangents, but that's kind of where my life has been. It's been like little bits of things, a whole grab bag, just a lot going on. Okay, so thoughts on the demons. Here's Terry's thoughts, is that they might be some super intelligent microscopic hive mind. So maybe like little viral Borg type things that can inhabit you. I would say almost like a parasite where they leech onto you and hitch a ride. Yeah. Like they did with the poor guy in Brown Sector.
And we're assuming that this alien entity is of a large physical nature. It very well could just be a being of energy, a being of light, a being of consciousness. So yeah, I mean, that's why they need a human host to be able to withstand the rigors of travel in space.
Right. That could make some sense. Mm-hmm. And he also adds, using exorcism as a means of dispossessing the host body suggests that rather than actual language, that it is the sounds and the rhythm made by the words spoken that allows this. Now, that's an interesting thought.
Wow. Okay.
That's a big thing to unpack here. Yeah, my mind is blown too.
Yeah. I think what it is that maybe there are just some type of, key phrases or that allows them to move between dimensions or something like that.
Maybe is it the vibration, the way certain sounds are made? You hit a certain note and that's it.
Maybe, at the same time, or maybe it's like the rhythmic chanting of so many. because one person
Maybe.
may not have been able to do it. Like maybe if you brought in like the order, and you had like an entire group of priests, like Brother Theo and his priest, and they all start chanting and stuff like that. Maybe what it is that they're giving that being enough energy from their chanting to summon up the ability to leave the body.
Maybe so, right? And that's
like
another
psychic
thing
energy.
Is the energy. The
Yeah.
energy. Hitting a certain level of it might be what causes it all to work.
I mean,
Slice
it's
of
kind of
Sci-Fi
like,
has a great comment. Names are power, words are magic. The Technomages knew this.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, we'll be talking about Technomages soon.
Yeah. It's like, if you've ever been, that's like what people keep saying, like, the live experience of like a rock concert or being in an arena for a sporting event or anything where you have, tens of thousands of people chanting the same thing at the same time. It is kind of moving in a way. It moves you in an almost indescribable way. And maybe that's what they needed. Maybe these aliens need that kind of energy.
Yeah, maybe it hits a certain level of energy. Yeah, sort of like when everybody's pumped at a sporting event or a concert or something, that place just, the whole thing feels electric. Or another great thing from Summer, think about how first sopranos shatter crystal with their voice, or think about how dogs hear different frequencies that are higher than what our ears can handle. Something just summons it out, I guess. I think that's all we're really getting at.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe let's get into some details here. How did you feel first time watching this, seeing B5 in beautiful HD CGI glory? I mean, how beautiful was that?
So this came out in 2007. And the last time I saw Babylon 5 as the station was in Sleeping in Light as the station, So that's almost 10 years, 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing because, no disrespect to John Vulich and optical effects or optic nerve. But they did the best they could with the technology they had at that time, and then completely like made the special effects, the computer generated effects so modern, and I still think they hold up even 13 years later, right, in 2020.
Yeah, they still look good.
Yeah, they still look good. I mean, they look good to the point where it passes for some of the Star Trek I'm watching now. Like I think it's better looking than the '90s Star Trek. It looks as good as Enterprise. I mean, especially like the Star Furies look amazing. The ship, the station itself looked amazing. But all like the upgrades to like the Primus class Centauri heavy cruiser battleships, with the ones that were escorting Ventari, those looked amazing. And the battle sequences and the dreams looked amazing. I mean, everything looks like it could hold up right now.
Yeah, a lot of it's really good. There's a couple of places where I feel the CGI, just generally speaking, falls short. One is in this part of it where the poor guy who's possessed by the demonic being is in his chamber and everything is on fire, including the doorway where Lockley and Cassidy walk through, and they're not reacting to the fact that it's on fire. They're just walking right through it. I mean,
that's a little weird, right?
They're just a little too... No, they'd get burned. They would catch on fire themselves because they're that close to it. So those are very minor things that I can overlook, especially when looking at the station itself. Oh, now the beginning, it's like, oh, what a glorious return. Look at this beautiful thing. And then it blows up all over again. And like, are you kidding me? Way to jerk with my emotions. And then of course we piece it back together while Jakar is talking, and I'm a total wreck at this point.
Right. It's literally like, let's start with your end emotional state with Sleeping in Light, because technically, since it is the continuation of Babylon 5, Crusade not being so in a way, Legends of the Rangers, no. So this is technically like the return back to our original cast. And the last time we saw Babylon 5 at that time was in Pieces, right? And then you had Christopher Franke, and also the return of Christopher Franke scoring this piece, scoring the Lost Tales, right?
That's right.
But then you have all of this and you're like, oh, yep, that's what I remember. I remember crying at the end of it, and now I'm crying at the beginning of it. So why did I just not stop crying? Yeah.
And this is a Chris Franke score because of that amazing theme.
Yeah.
Just that thundering beat, seeing images of our cast. It's gorgeous. It is true to form. Earl, I'm not sure if the version on Amazon is in HD or not, or if it's the same resolution as the DVD. What I can say is that on my 45-inch screen, it looked great.
Okay.
So take that for whatever it's worth.
Okay, so Daniel Killer
Got a
says,
lot of good comments about the fire. I'm assuming it was real. Maybe it wasn't, and they knew that.
yeah, I don't. It was a weird. Obviously, the devil persona, or Simon Burke. He wanted to make this. He wanted to make this show of his ability because he overheard. Father, was it Keller? Cassidy, Father Keller, or Daniel Keller, Father Cassidy say like, oh, there's been no demonstration of power. There's been no kind of like signature show of what this demon's capable of. And all of a sudden, oh, I'll set everything on fire, right? But here's the interesting thing about the fire. It's like, yeah, okay, if it's an illusion, that's great. Then why the wind? Right, because the fire was like whipping around, and when fire goes like that, it's sucking all the oxygen out of the out of the room.
Yeah, well, and it's not like they're coughing and gasping for air. So I guess you do have to put it off as if it is an illusion, though. So that's a really good point to make. I didn't even consider that.
Well, some people and Lockley and Father Cassidy, they're hip to what this guy is doing, so they're not necessarily afraid. But if they also knew it was an illusion and weren't burning, then you don't do this kind of, oh my God, I'm gonna get burned.
Well, I mean, I guess, is it still that bright? Where you kind of have to cover up just a little bit.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway, good tangents, good conversation. Let's keep it up. So more to the Babylon 5 remake here. Not only is the CGI great, but we get a little bit of a makeover. Like, I'm particularly thinking hallways. They get redone a little bit.
All right. They got the contractors in there.
Yeah. Even though this was made like on a really low budget, the sets that they did have looked great.
Yeah. They looked like that something around in the 9-year period that Lockley said that she's been in command of the station. And obviously they're coming on the 10th anniversary of the Interstellar Alliance. They probably wanted to spruce the place up because it is the 10th anniversary, right?
Maybe so. Maybe they found just a little smidge in the budget to, spruce it up a little bit because it had been a while at that point.
I heard that Bo and Mac, they started their own spoo business and gave a little bit of a kickback to the station for being so good to them. So, I've heard that.
Love it.
Somewhere.
Yeah. And Mac and Bo had to do all that remodeling.
10 credits an ounce, if you can believe that.
God, if you can believe it. Mm-hmm. Mountains of Elysium says Mac and Bo obviously got a lot of overtime. Gosh, I hope so.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh, I hope so. Yeah, for the amount of sets that they had, they made pretty good use of them. Some were much more minimalistic than others. Like, I'm particularly thinking the 2 seats in the dark with Sheridan. Mm-hmm. But it works, man. It works. It totally works for me. I do not care that they didn't have a complete redesign of everything and we didn't see CNC and stuff like that. We didn't need to here.
Right. You don't like the great thing about where Joe was trying to take this entire project was he wanted to focus on the character stories and not these large galactic scale events that he's already done in the past. There's no reason to kind of retread those. From what I remember reading about Lost Tales in the original chat rooms, like, altb5.universe.net. whatever, right? So they wanted to create these very introspective personal stories where you were just relying on the strength of the actors, and they did, because especially in Over Here, the guy who played Simon Burke, man, he had pretty much the lion's share of the dialogue in that, and he owned it. And all you were really doing was watching the camera kind of tilt and rotate, change direction, change angle, but you were focused on every word. So it was really kind of important that, Joe was really on point with his writing, but also the person that they chose for these special parts, like the guy who played Simon or the guy who played Ventari, they were able to mine as much of those characters for those scenes, because that's the only time we were going to see them. Right.
Yeah. This overall Lost Tales is very dialogue heavy, so you have to have capable actors who can carry that, and thank goodness they did. But you said a word that reminded me of one little other detail that I really appreciated, and that is rotation. We see a lot of station rotation. Mm-hmm. If you think about it, both in Lockley's quarters and just the station rotating, like when the ship docks, You're seeing it rotate alongside the station.
Oh, that new
Kinda
docking
cool. We haven't
sequence
seen
was
that.
amazing, right?
It's good stuff. It's good
Oh,
stuff.
it was, and the funny thing is that I don't remember seeing it on the original docking sequence, but there's this little Babylon 5 painted on the
Yes.
dock, and I was like, as if they didn't know where they were.
Just in case.
Just in case.
It's like people who have a belt buckle with their name on it.
Right. So it's just for branding purposes. We want to make sure that before you dock, you're at Babylon 5. So there's no backing out right now.
Like, why and how did that little detail get in there? Who did it?
It feels networky, but I know that Joe wasn't really networky about it. But I think it was just to establish the fact that, okay, this is Babylon 5. This is Babylon 5's dock. It's like, this is Ambassador Jakar's quarters. This is Ambassador Jakar's dinner. What part of this escapes you? Right?
Yes. It's all branding.
Branding.
Yeah. Okay. Another thing that I really am intrigued by with Lockley's story is bringing up the possibility that maybe someday when she wants to retire from Earth Force, I wonder if she'd become a member of the clergy.
It's maybe that was her, that was her path. Maybe somewhere along the line, she's like, you know what, I need to serve, but I just can't serve military anymore, but I want to serve people. And maybe that was the right way.
Or maybe just, when she does feel that she's done her bidding for Earth Force, she doesn't want to stop. She doesn't want to retire to a house with a garden and live a peaceful, quiet life. No, she wants to continue being active, and that might be another path for her. The whole conversation between her and Father Cassidy about how religion has slowly died out or is dying out in the future. What do you think of that? Do you think that is something that might actually happen if, and I dare say when, we discover that there are other sentient beings, or at least as sentient as us, that we can communicate with, and they don't immediately kill us? Do you think that religion will go to the wayside when we discover that there is life from other worlds?
That was a really interesting point that they brought up there, and it brings me all the way back to when Commander Sinclair brought all the different faiths of Earth to line up, throughout the mezzanine of Babylon 5. And if that were the case, and this is already what, 200 years after we've gone out into space, colonized other worlds, created the station. So, if that were the case, then every single spiritual spiritual leader that was in his his group of an example for the faith-based celebration wouldn't be there, right? Or at least or less of them. Now, the one thing that I thought was interesting is, like, why the Catholic faith? Why the Catholic priest? Right? Like, why not say an Orthodox Jew? Or it's just like, it's because of the exorcism, obviously.
Yeah, but take your pick, because there's no shortage of variety, at least on Earth. Right.
And I think that I know that they were going for a specific dynamic with demonic possession and exorcism. But I was talking to Yishar about this. I'll tell the listeners that we were having an offline conversation before this, and I said one of the things that just is kind of a little strange for me is that any Lita level telepath could make you think exactly what Simon Burke was making you think, with the illusions, with the smell, with the voice modulation. She could have done that. Any telepath that's that powerful could have done what he did. And I'm surprised they didn't bring up that particular things, like, oh, well, look, we need to bring in a telepath here just to make sure that we're not getting, like mentally manipulated. Jason Ironheart could have done that.
Yeah, what if he's swirling around in the ether and is just looking in, seeing what's happening on Babylon 5, and just decides, I'm going to screw around with these guys for a while.
Yeah, I'm a little bored, And whatever happened to Talia?
There's got to be somebody out in the universe who's just really bored, sort of like the Q in Star Trek, where they've lived so long, they're so powerful that all that they really have left is to screw around with the rest of us.
Mounts of Elysium says that Babylon 5 addressed the possibility of what would happen. Stephen Franklin became a foundationist, a religion that began after first contact. And I do think that there's going to be faith that exists even if we reach for the stars. And I think that's where to bring in Dan Brown, who wrote famously wrote Angels and Demons and the Da Vinci Code and all of those faith-based fictions when it becomes between the scientific faith and the church-based faith. But they said, like, with the with the discovery of the Higgs boson particle, the particle that's supposed to be able to, link everything in the universe together, i.e. the force. That's where a lot of people are like, oh, damn, man, if we could explain like the emergence of that particle, and that particle explains the emergence of what we believe was God into our society, then where is God? If we can explain the particle that creates and links everything together. So
sure, it all unravels. And going back to the idea that maybe a lot of people have unsubscribed from religious faith because maybe science can explain more and people are happier with that. That's not to say that religion is going to go completely extinct. I think it just means it's on the decline overall.
Yeah, perhaps. And I think that that was a really smart strategy for that demon. He's like, look, you exercise me and you prove that demons exist. Bam, instant cred for religion, and the religion and your numbers go like way up. But that was the temptation.
Yeah, for some
right?
people, that's going to be convincing. Sure. Yeah. But then there's also that other aspect of how religion might change and evolve. And so maybe it's all about how you spin it.
Exactly. And this guy was, the devil's a pretty damn good marketer. I mean, you ever see like the devil always gets the sexiest stuff, gets the sexiest clothes, gets the sexiest people to play him on TV or on screen, right? You have, the guy in Lucifer, pretty good looking dude, right? So
right.
I mean, the devil always gets the good stuff.
Hey, and you know what? One of my favorite quotes from this part of the story is, even the devil will use the truth when it's convenient.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So sure. I think that plays into it pretty well here.
Hey, so did the Vorlon.
True. And they're not of many words, but they definitely they definitely capitalize. Okay, I just noticed we're over about the half-hour mark. Do we want to switch over to Sheridan? Like, do you have any final thoughts before we transition over? Because, God, we could probably do an hour just on this alone, but for concise reasons.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're not going to get into like the deep story elements. Then that's for you to get into and watch. Yeah, but the things that I do like so far that I've seen in the Lost Tales, and this is like the umpteenth time that I've seen the Lost Tales, is that the production leads you right in as if you've never left. Right, you immediately fall in love with the characters again. The first thing I noticed, like, oh, Lockley's got eagles. I mean, she's a colonel, and like, wow!
Oh, we got to mention Colonel Lockley.
Right, Colonel Lockley. And then she said that, for the last 9 years I've been on the station. So it sets you into the time period of where you need to be, which is like, let's say 2262.
It's 2281, right?
So so it'd be plus
71, 9. Sorry.
Yeah, it'll be plus 9 from 2262, right? So it'd be 2271.
Yeah.
And the other thing that you realize when she says this is going to be the 10th year of the IA is that means that Sheridan only has 10 years left.
That's right.
Right. So you put that into context, and maybe I'm leading you into this. Maybe that's why he made the decision that he made with Ventari. Maybe he's kind of like, you know what? I got to do the right thing here because I don't really have enough time to do the wrong thing and try and make it right.
It's true. He's got to be running red lights with what he has left because it's not much. Okay, so leading into the Sheridan story, before we do that, let's catch up on comments. Earl Green has a great comment on Jason Ironheart. He will return to take revenge for being one of the show's biggest drop plot threads. LOL. I'm with you on that one, buddy.
That's funny.
It's so true. He was this one-off character. There were a lot of possibilities there, only to never see him again.
Is it possible that he and Kes got together and decided to be like, hey, thanks for
Kes beyond the rim?
Yeah, thanks for dropping my plot thread too, being omnipotent and all that kind of stuff. Right.
I love it. Okay.
And a lot of fans of Tom Ellis as Lucifer.
Yes, I'm noticing this. Cool. Okay.
Mountains of Elysium says, to quote Babylon 5, faith and reason are like two shoes on your feet. You can get further with two than just one.
I like working in conjunction with one another. Yeah, balance.
I like
kind
that.
of the key thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Mountains also says, I can only speak for myself. I can hold to my faith as it does not conflict with science. For me, science explains how and religion explains why.
Hey. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see how that works. Too. For sure.
So, very
That's
cool.
Good stuff. All right. Let's get over to...
Over there.
And I got to find my notes over there. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about Prince Vintare. 2255, he was born, the illegitimate son of Emperor Turhan's nephew Kartaja. And Vintare's lineage is kept hidden for fear of a scandal. And as he becomes older, his life becomes more regimented and controlled, as illustrated in this thing here. And Vintare learns how to manipulate people to his own ends. He also takes an interest in the technology of other races and is fascinated by the Star Furies used by the Earth Alliance. That's notes from Terry. So thanks again, Terry. I'm going to skip a little bit just for time's sake. You and I, Norm, talked a little bit off camera about the order of the throne, because Vintare is third, Londo is first, currently the emperor, and behind him is Vir. And we were theorizing how and why Vir is next in line for the throne when really he's never really had that aspiration.
No.
So do you want to review a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I kind of made a flub a little bit. I was like, Char's like, why would Vir be emperor when Vintare is obviously next in line? And she said, well, no, Vir's next in line because Prince Vintare is the third. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. But why would Vir want to become emperor anyway? Because he never really had any designs on the throne. I mean, Vir doesn't like politics. He hates politics.
Absolutely, right? He hates bureaucracy.
He's loyal to Londo because if no one's loyal to Londo, then Londo wouldn't have any friends. He wouldn't have anyone to be, a voice of reason for him, right? So, but he doesn't like being in the Centauri royal court. He probably had the greatest, probably the greatest part of his career is when he was ambassador to Minbar, and or did that short, Abraham Lincoln when he was like when he created the Minbar, when the Narn Underground Railroad
ever.
Right? So it's I think that somewhere along the line in this story, Prince Vintare abdicated his right, and just basically said, you know what, I don't want to be emperor if I have a chance to be emperor. So you have it, Vir. And Vir's like, I don't want to be emperor. Why?
Here's another theory, because I'm kind of leading you on. Here is more notes from Terry. This Vir's ascension to the throne is influenced by the Drakh.
Yeah.
Thinking that Londo is pretty malleable and Londo and Vir are very much intertwined. Therefore, Vir can help continue that whole thing that they've got going on.
True. That's true.
And then, but the whole thing with Vintare being the son of Kartaja and knowing how well that went. That would not be the most popular thing, now would it? So it's very interesting what happens in this story and what have you, just because when I learned for the first time watching this that he was Kartaja's illegitimate son, I'm like, oh, crap.
Right.
Suddenly he becomes evil incarnate. And it's great when Galen is talking to Sheridan about that. Like, even Hitler would play with dolls and whatnot, and he was innocent too before he became a monster. He makes a very good point about that. Right.
And I think that's where the story really kind of like takes shape is we're taking a look at this boy, right? And I got to remember this because it's something that I found very pertinent to Londo. Londo says that for the longest time, I felt like I was always responsible for doing something, some duty or something for, for the royal court. I've always felt that I never had a chance for real childhood. And you're seeing that a lot in Vintare. Like it almost seems like every male in Centauri royal court, or at least in the nobility, all they're bred and raised for is to continue the politics of the royal court or to vie for a chance at some type of position, like say, like a minister or a regent or obviously the emperor. And that's it. That's it. That's all they have.
It's a very small, insulated world. And Vintare doesn't seem terribly thrilled with that prospect, especially if he's studying like other worlds and their spacecraft and stuff like that. That's signaling that he wants to get out there. He doesn't like his life necessarily, which gives him potential. And that's fun stuff to work with.
Right. He sees, I mean, he's interested in other cultures, right? He's, you
Yeah.
know, instead of being like, oh no, you know, the our cruisers are the greatest cruisers in the galaxy, and you know, they can't even stand up against our fighters. And I mean, he would be very kind of like Centauri centric, you know, like
Yeah, kind of. I mean, that's how what you would kind of expect out of somebody born and bred in the royal court, because that's what you would know. And it sounds like he's got
Right.
enough of a brain in him to
Mhm.
realize otherwise.
But this is where Ventari is kind of like he's teetering on the edge of a certain destiny. And this goes into Earl's point. So he goes, I've got some real problems with how Galen handled things here, because he's really counting on Sheridan having better angels of his nature, and it seems like a real gamble. It's kind of like Joe's kind of like this. He's a backdoor writer, right? So he kind of like manufactures that in his characters. Galen knows that one of two things are going to happen. Either Sheridan's going to assassinate him, but that's not Sheridan's character. Sheridan doesn't kill without purpose. There's no purpose that he put before him aside from the fact. And he didn't just dump the word ways just willy-nilly. Galen's not like that.
No.
Right? So there was kind of like a test. There was a test for Sheridan to see if Sheridan was the right person for the right job. And then there was a test for the outcome of this, because the outcome of it was, well, if he kills Ventari, then this future is not going to happen. Aces. If he doesn't kill Ventari, that means that John Sheridan is going to influence this young man into becoming something better. So it's either the future is saved or the future is saved but better.
Sure. What I find interesting is that both of these stories start off with kind of like the structure makes you want to think that there's only two options, and they're not great. And in both instances, it's opting for the third. But with the case of Galen and Sheridan, Galen is guiding him kind of inadvertently toward that third option, which he wanted all along.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's like when you're in sales, there are three things that you do in sales. One, you show somebody the thing that you don't want them to buy. Two, then you hit them with like a bunch of different options and confuse the situation. And then three, you kind of slip in the last thing that you do want them to buy. And then
suddenly, bingo.
They take ownership of that decision because you've already negatively sold them. So that's what Galen's doing here. Galen's like doing the negative sell because he knows that Sheridan's not a murderer. He doesn't murder children. He doesn't do it without cause, right? And then all of a sudden he's an investigator. So Sheridan's like, why is he doing this to me? What purpose why am I jumping through all these hoops?
Sure.
And Sheridan's like, no. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it my way. Right? You
Always.
Know, like, yeah. So up yours. I'm going to do it my way.
I love that in Lost Tales, we get a classic Sheridan. Up yours.
I thought about you when I saw that. You know.
It was so good. I want to jump into some comments real quick and catch up.
Sure.
Slice of Sci-Fi, talking back again about Jason Ironheart. He's drinking buddies with the guy watching the records and deconstruction of falling stars. I love that idea. Right. It's fantastic. She also says the Centauri are lying. We know Cartagia was a horn dog. There are other kids out there. Yeah, probably. They just haven't gotten the DNA test.
Right.
There's probably all sorts of little Cartagias running around, and they're serial murderers, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Earth Cat, fourth in line, according to Super Dave. I agree with that. And you know what? I welcome our new overlord.
They go quack. Nibbled to death by cats. Nibbled to death by emperor cats.
Yes, Earth Cats are in charge of my house, just like they are for Earl Green. So, you know, I'm cool with it.
Let's see. I think Mountain says, I think that Londo may have made Veer his heir before he got the keeper. It's possible.
Very likely to kind of groom him, train him, that sort of thing. Wouldn't surprise me in the least. Wait. Okay. Here's a thought.
Huh.
Zach, we see in Sleeping in Light that Zach Gallen is the aide to Veer. Yeah. Does that mean that Zach eventually got a keeper too?
I don't think Veer has a keeper.
Well, I would like to think not. Yeah. Because I'd like to think that the Drock thought that was going to happen, that it was a good idea, but he totally went the other way and probably made Centauri Prime better than it's been in a long time.
Maybe. I always thought the keeper is kind of like that whole thing, like died with Londo, and the potential of it went to maybe David Sheridan because Londo gave him that gift of a keeper in that vase. I just don't really think that that was where Veer's destiny was in the 20-year span. In the 20-year span of that.
I'd like to think that Veer created kind of a different Centauri Republic that was built on his values, things like kindness, generosity, totally reworking the whole system from the ground up.
Yeah, I think that by that time, I think the Drakh. I don't know if the Drakh were gone by then. I don't know it specifically, but it just didn't feel like in Sleeping in Light that Veer was under the control of the Keeper and the Drakh.
Right. This taps into a comment Summer made about when Malari died. Was Veer still ambassador, or had he been promoted to prime minister? I would think at this point he would somehow be in the royal court.
Yeah, I think that he was probably.
He'd have to be.
I think so.
And then he would have succeeded Malari, much in line with Lady Morella's prophecy all those years ago.
Right. And that was how many years? It was like
several.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly. BC says I'd like to say I like Sheridan's link being a ring now. Not sure if it matches up with Sleeping in Light as far as classic links go. It does not. But it's still cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't mind it.
I mean, it's better than the breast cam, right? Or is it?
The boob cam. Okay, let's talk about the freaking reporter and Sheridan's massive disdain for reporters.
always trying to get the leg up or the chest up on Sheridan.
Yeah, and it never works. And you know what? I mean, I understand Sheridan's distaste for reporters. He's kind of been through the ringer with these guys. He's not had very good experiences, and it still seems like they're still trying to play him. And just, the boob camp, that's not going to work on him. He's happily married. That's not something he's interested in.
I agree. Actually, I think I misunderstood what BC was saying. He said that, but is it a case of something not thought of when filming Sleeping in Light set 20 years later? I thought it was like, it's like one of those kind of like cool things that maybe only he was using. And maybe obviously it wasn't Earth Alliance standard issue. It was probably a Minbari thing. Right. Just, or
he's
something.
He's got access to cool Minbari toys.
Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah.
And who knows? I mean, it was just like, wait, like, yeah. Like, what if he's like doing like this all the time? And then all of a sudden, like he calls Delenn, like, yeah, hey, she's like, why are you calling me? Did you just ring dial me?
Yeah. Instead of a butt dial.
He goes, John, did you just ring dial me? I'm like, what? No.
Yes. Also, I love how Sheridan has a lot of fun with this reporter while they go into quantum space, which is Vorlon leftover technology. That's cool stuff.
Right? Yeah. Who's smart enough to reverse engineer that? Like, I'd like to know who was on the board for that.
Seriously. Yeah. But apparently it's quicker and a little more nauseating when you're not used to it.
Yeah, not nearly as deadly as third space.
Right? Yeah, seriously.
And why not just call it fourth space? I mean, why do it be all fancy, quantum space?
Because quantum.
I guess so.
Quantum.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds fancy.
Not like terse space. I'm just kidding.
That sounds awful. No. I'm rejecting that.
All right.
All right. So, all right. Now, when you tweeted out the announcement of our show, you said that there were 3 stories in this, and that was not completely like without purpose, because for you, Galen is a story.
I felt that he was.
Okay. I mean, I want to know a little more about that because I completely disagree, but please share your point of view.
Well, I mean, there are 3, like when I say stories, I don't mean like everything begins with, chapter 1 and everything ends with chapter 2, 2 or then chapter 3. That's not what I meant by 3 stories. I meant like 3 main characters intertwined in this narrative. Not like.
Well, the cover art agrees with you because Lockley, Sheridan, and Galen are on the cover of this DVD.
Yeah.
However, I feel Galen is just more of the vehicle guiding Sheridan as a side character, sort of how Father Cassidy is guiding with Lockley. He's not top billing.
It's true,
here.
But Father Cassidy isn't a main character of Babylon 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean Galen was more of a Crusade character.
Yeah.
trying to tie this all together. But even so, well, and
Yeah.
also I kind of want to check my own possible bias. Galen is not my favorite, and you know that.
Yeah. Why not? Is it because he enunciates every single word?
I just feel like he's overacting the whole time.
He's very
And it
intense.
drives me nuts. He's not a character that really compels me. I feel like technomages were a good idea, but in very limited quantity. They should never have had Galen as a main character with anything. Not in Crusade, not in Babylon 5, none of it.
I was wondering if you would have softened to that idea if you actually saw more of him in Crusade. Like when I say more is like more of his character develop.
Mm,
You know?
maybe, but the way he was portrayed in Crusade did not make me like him more. Made me like him less, if anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's that. You can fight me on it. It's fine. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the fact that Sheridan does choose this third route and offers to kind of have a win-win situation, right? With inviting, huh?
Win-win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, he invites Ventari to come stay with him and Delenn and their son David on Minbar, and this allows Ventari to get away from the royal court and experience something new. And then also Sheridan doesn't have to kill him.
Right. Exactly. Now here's something I thought of. So Ventari doesn't know that Malari gave Sheridan and Delenn that present for David.
No.
Right?
Oh, I want to talk about this. Yes.
So what if the reason why, and I don't know what happened to Ventari, we don't know specifically, but what if David and Ventari became as close as brothers as they were hoping?
Sure.
What if, like, David said, you know what? Before you leave, I want to give you something that was given to me.
Okay.
And gave him this vase. He goes, it is Centauri. It belongs with a Centauri and belongs with you.
Oh, okay. I did not consider this as an option.
See? So what if that is how David was able to escape the Keeper? Because Ventari took the vase away and never opened it on his 16th birthday.
Oh my. So do you suppose the Keeper might have attached to Ventari? Did this land David in some trouble, as we found out in War Without End?
Well, I'm just saying that, David was supposed to open that up on his 16th birthday. What if he never did? What if Ventari just has it as a keepsake? Somewhere.
But there was something that happened with this vase and its contents.
Well, didn't he say that, our son is safe? But it doesn't necessarily mean he was safe from the Keeper. Like, there could have been other people coming after him. It's very vague. There could have been agents coming after him, because for whatever reason. So it doesn't necessarily mean that.
Something that just occurred to me is maybe to make sure that he has the Keeper.
Right.
Because maybe, what if he did reject it, didn't do it, and they're just, hey, why hasn't this happened yet? And there's agents in the royal court who are going to try and track him down and force it upon him, knowing that's a thing.
Right.
Huh.
So he could be on the run from that because Londo's plan was foiled by Ventari.
Interesting. Yeah, I thought a lot about what Ventari's presence might mean for David for this whole incident, and my mind went to more of the argument of, okay, is Sheridan and Delenn's presence going to influence him in a positive way to teach him things like the fact that you can be kind without expecting something in return, kind of the antithesis of the royal court and whatnot. Not everything is transactional. Or is his complete nature going to start boiling up and he's going to cause trouble for this family?
I think that, it's very well possible that he wanted to be, it sounded like he was so frustrated with everything kind of like being manufactured and curated and like his life put on rails. I think, and this would be so awesome. This is okay. I'll put the writing hat on. Mm-hmm. So I think that when he was of age, since he's 9 years, I would say like maybe 5-6 years older than David.
David is 9, and so then Ventari he became of age at 16. So yeah, he's a good 6 years older.
Okay, so David becomes 16. His big brother, Ventari, or Des Ventari, he wants to go do something, and he wants to go see the universe. So he becomes and has trained as a ranger.
Oh,
right?
Wow.
The first Centauri ranger, something that he chose for himself, that no one has influenced him to do. Now he can go out and fly fighter jets for the Rangers or White Stars, right? Something that he's always wanted to do, right? He's always wanted to be behind like one of these really cool ships. And David gives him this. He goes, I was supposed to open this up. This was my 16th birthday present, but I want you to take it to remember me by. And there goes the keeper. And Ventari becomes a ranger.
And then he's infiltrating the Rangers with Drock thoughts and intentions filling his head.
But doesn't necessarily mean he opened it.
But come on.
No?
I don't know. I don't know. It's an interesting thought. I also I have to wonder though, would the royal court let someone in line for the throne become a ranger? Two schools of thought on that. Yes, absolutely. Because if you think about the British military or the British royals, they often join the military to serve, at least for a few years. And so they'd just kind of translate that experience to that sort of a thing. Or absolutely not. We need to keep you safe and confined, and we're going to continue to train you for your duty.
Would it be awesome, though, that he just rejected the whole thing outright? He's just like,
it would be.
And that would be a really nice, point of contention in his character, where it's like, what has being kind of like trained and polished to serve the royal court, versus me following my heart, the calling of my heart. This is where Delenn starts influencing him.
Hey,
you have to do the calling of, you have to find the calling of your heart. And if you want to do this, we'll support you and we'll find a way for you to be able to do this. Or he's like, nope, I'm going to go on the Maria, with Captain, what's his name? And then I'm just going to go be one of his rangers. And you know what? You'll never hear him from me again. I'll be on the front lines. I'll be.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought. It's a cool story too. It's a great idea to have this young guy who could be royalty and is choosing not to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like how Prince Harry has retreated from royal life. He's just not into it. And that's not going to be a popular decision with everybody.
And he's not the true bloodline of Cartagia. He's a bastard.
Right. So does that make it easier to let him go, so to speak?
Yeah, I think it's easy for him to let go, because maybe he starts looking at, okay, this is what Cartagia did. Here's the unfiltered truth.
I think you're right, because he has been treated a certain way up to this point because of who his father is. He recognizes that.
Right.
So
every choice for him, whether it's for him to serve or for him to sleep with a knife underneath his pillow. Like, why live a life of fear when I can meet fear head on and become the instrument of fear? Like En La Choc is, the application of terror. Like, I should be able to master my own fear and go out there and serve a life that I want to serve, as opposed to being forced to serve someone else's version of my life. Right.
That's going to give his life actual purpose, rather than like this built-in constructed thing that he could be a part of, but is choosing another way.
Yeah.
That's another great, untapped story with a lot of potential. So much good stuff. I want to jump into the comments because we are coming up to the end of the show here. Earl says, Lost Tales kind of fills me with sadness. We could have had B5 back, and then Joe was kind of like, nah. And Joe lost me for a little while because of that. It's hard not to be a little bitter. This was kind of a bittersweet end, just to see the potential. And then it's like the rug kind of gets pulled from under us. And there's not another part. There's not a part two. There's not a second half of this where there was supposed to be more stories. And then he decides, I guess, after one low budget experience, I'm either going to do a movie or I'm not going to do it at all.
Mm-hmm.
So in that time, I was not terribly active in the B5 fandom. I'd already kind of been lost away at that point. And so I could understand that bitterness, though. I'd probably feel the same way.
I think that this was a really good way of testing the market. The DVD sales did not do well, and so you have to take a look at return on investment and time, and where his career path was taking him. So
It's true. Because at this point, he'd already done, well, no, he was about to do Changeling.
right.
I think this was kind of maybe like a last desperate attempt to bring B5 back. And the bitch of it is going direct to video is not going to make a ton of money. It never does.
Yeah, he was caught in the unfortunate time of, it was right before things like Netflix broke, streaming wide open.
Yeah.
It was right before the big breakout of the iPhone and Facebook and all the social media.
Right.
He was caught.
Was not quite the thing. It was very much, I want to say a victim of the more traditional marketing models at the time.
Yeah, he was
now, if they
at
were
the
doing
tail,
this
tail,
now,
tail,
or
tail
even
yeah.
a few years ago, he might have had more success. I don't know.
It's hard for I think artists of his caliber who's so talented and have so many stories to tell to continue to try and bring back a project that I think he's moved past from, as much as it breaks my heart to say it, because he has so many great things like with AWA Studios and The Resistance, of which I still have to read the first 2 episodes or the first 2 comics of.
Same, and I can't wait.
With Sense8, with everything that he's done for the comic book community, my God, he's changed the face of comic book writing.
Absolutely. There's no bounds to what Joe can get involved with, except for Babylon 5, because he does have the movie rights, but no one's going to make a Babylon 5 movie right now. I'm sorry. There's just not enough interest. It's not going to make enough money. And movies are a huge freaking budget. Yeah. And until the WB execs who have a grudge against PTN shows either retire or die, and somebody comes in who does not have that school of thought, this kind of is it. This was the swan song of Babylon 5. Now, that said, though, if we had to go out on a note, this was not a bad one. I think there was a lot to it. It's got some good stuff. And it did show that there was still some life to Babylon 5.
Yeah. It felt like, they could have, turned this into a novelization. It would have probably felt the same way, just in terms of pulling the heartstrings. Obviously, you wouldn't have the great, the orchestration or some of the emotional beats and stuff, but it is a really good continuation. And it's kind of like, I would say it's more like an appendices type of, story, right? It's not necessarily, you don't have to see it to understand the main 5 seasons. You don't really need to see Legends of the Rangers, of which we should do next.
Legends of Rangers. Well, we've got a couple of other shows planned, but we should eventually tackle Legend of the Rangers. Sure. Yeah. You know what? I think it's more of an epilogue.
Yeah.
It's the epilogue.
Right. It's weird because it jumps in time, because Sleeping Light's supposed to be the epilogue, but this comes after Sleeping Light, but it comes before it.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fluid. It's wibbly wobbly, really. Right.
Pretty much. Timey-wimey. Well, I hate to say it, but we're over our hour here. We got to close up the show.
Yeah, for sure. But that's, man, that was great job, Char, in getting a lot of that trivia out there and talking about all those talking points.
Hey. And thanks again to Terry Jones for all the great notes on a lot of the Lost Tales history that we repeated here. Yeah. One thing we're planning on doing is, with Terry's permission, we're going to see if he's willing to let us post these documents. We'll let you know if and when that happens.
Yep. And wow, this is literally our most live viewed show to date. Not our most watched show, but we have the most amount of active participants. So thank you, everybody, for spending your Sunday afternoon or evening, or even the next morning sometimes. Not sure exactly where everyone's calling in from. But Slice of Slice said, how to get into Discord. So you might want to pop the link in there.
I'm working on that right now, Summer. I'll get you a link.
Yeah. So if usually we'll kind of continue this conversation over in Discord, or you can please feel free to do so as well. BC and I actually had a good conversation a couple weeks ago when we were using kind of the voice chat room option there, which works really, really well. So if you want to continue the conversation in audio form, you can do that there. The conversation doesn't stop just because our show stops, and hopefully we gave you a lot to chew on and talk about, because there's a lot more fan fiction type stuff that we love to be able to percolate here.
Absolutely, it's good stuff. And unfortunately, I have to go right now, you guys. I've got another little meeting to go to, but I will jump into the Discord later tonight and see what you guys are all talking about.
All right, sounds good. So
All
thanks
right.
everybody. Thanks everybody for joining us. Make sure that you follow us all the ways that you can below in the I was about to say job description, in the show description. And appreciate you being here. Appreciate you spending your time with us. Thank you, Shar, for all your hard work for this show. And thank you again, Terry Jones, for all of your notes. So until next time, be seeing you.
Bye, everybody.